welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Time for Opinion Court. You can get in touch with us 22422. That's our SMS line, and at Citizen TV Kenya. If you're online, you can find us by the same name on Facebook. Use the hashtag Opinion Court on both platforms. We'd love to hear from you. I'll reintroduce my panel to you. To my immediate right is Igembe South legislator Mithika Linturi. In the middle is Edwin Kisiangani. Hi, Prof. Our resident political analyst, and across from me, Gatunda South legislator Moses Kuria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So we're asking tonight, based on the latest revelations, now that we've become a country of affidavits, so it seems, will the Jubilee coalition implode based on former CS and Waiguru's affidavit? Prof, what do you think?
I think that the chances are that it could actually split and completely implode, because first of all, their marriage was based on quicksand. So because it was based on quicksand, ICC, and also lies, and I've also said initially, or even on this show, that the reason why President Uhuru Kenyatta's TNA and URP came together was on lies. A number of things, and we can say things like even saying wrong people who took them to the Hague. Moses Kuria is here, my friend. He even came to confirm what I said, it was lies. So the lies has now started consuming them, and the chicken are coming home to roost. So with the Waiguru's revelations, the question is whether or not stealing took place. First of all, you should know that from the point of view of Adan Duale, there is no doubt that money was stolen, because he declared clearly that this is a small woman, a person who stole, who we gave a job, and that she ended up stealing millions and millions of shillings. The point is, it's coming too late, because we expected him to say that in October. He didn't say, he defended. So on both ends, you have seen these guys. I think probably the MOU between TNA and the URP was that we can still looting, we can start looting, but we should cover each other. But now the blanket is not big enough to cover all the looters, and now they are revealing themselves in public. Yeah. So money has been lost, and in the end, I think they will part ways, because this marriage has no values. It is not based on any foundation.
The blanket is not big enough.
It's not big enough to give them. So each one is saying, you are not covering me. They say, you know, you have overeaten from the looting. You have become fatter. So this blanket is not going to give me. So this is exactly the situation we are.
Which side has become fatter? Is it the TNA side or the URP one?
I think both of them are so fat that the blanket is in the middle. It can't now cover. Each one has half of their bodies are out. So now they are saying, you know, why is this blanket small? Somebody saying, you know, did you use it to do something else? So it is the same blanket we had in 2013. So these two coalitions are now a political nuisance in this country, because every other day you hear they promised us so many things, but those things are not working. You hear so and so has stolen this, and then the most interesting part of that is this. My brother Moses, we have worked together for a very long time. But Moses, he was probably one of the fellows who defended Waiguru. Yes. And they said no. He was. Duale was another one in October who defended. Now, I have just been asking one question, Anne. Suppose Waiguru did not give this affidavit. Would Duale have declared that, in fact, Waiguru stole money?
Yeah, what he alleges now to know for
yes, and he declared it in front of cameras. How did he come? Is it because he was also mentioned? So in the long run, let us not ask the question, who is stealing more from there, who is better, who has stolen less. The question is that this country has been swindled and it has been looted. So, and the looting, we know there are even the other people in other political parties who are part of this. But now that Jubilee is the one having executive power to look after our destiny, they are the ones who have looted us. Looted us. We are jaundiced. We are sick.
Oh, dear. Moses, do you believe your partnership with URP can survive?
First of all, let me disappoint my good friend Prof. that Jubilee is going nowhere. And Jubilee will remain intact, much to the chagrin, much to the disappointment of the likes of Prof and his masters. Yeah?
Masters.
we are not, you know,
Moses, I have no masters. I have no masters. You should know that.
You know,
my master is Kenya.
That's one we can argue until cows come home. But make no mistake that what is happening, actually, you know, I'm very delighted about what is happening. Within this government, what we are finding now is what I would call mutual exposure. As opposed to the other government which was there before, which was based on mutual cover-up. You know the kind of thing those guys did. From the ones who are now proclaiming to be whiter than snow, what they did in the coalition, other coalition government. So I think it speaks volumes about the journey that we've traveled as a country. That you can have perceived very powerful individuals being exposed, going to the EACC, recording statements, stepping aside, being fired. It speaks volumes about the journey for transparency that we've taken. What would have happened the other day? People used to go, and I'm talking about just, you know, barely 5 years ago. They sell IDs to aliens for 10,000 shillings. They sell titles to every land that you have in this country. And what you used to have is mutual cover-up.
Moses, why did you defend Waiguru?
No, I'm coming there.
Yeah.
That now we are coming to an era whereby, you know, I was saying in another media today that this, you know, we have season for mangoes, for avocados, for something else, for sorghum.
This is a season for scandal?
For affidavits.
Oh, affidavits.
And I was even afraid that somebody, Mideka Linturi, would be named, and then he also names Museveni or somebody else. Somebody seems to be, one, naming another person, and two, everybody is amnestiac. I don't know so and so. I don't know. It is.
But you believe you will survive?
No, Jubilee will survive, because the foundation of Jubilee was not about winning power. The foundation of Jubilee was about saving this country from, you know, another collapse, in the sense of, you know, the total conflagration that we saw, you know, in 2007, 2008. Our actual raison d'etre, the reason for being, was actually because of peace. So yes, we are going to have our ups and downs, but two things: one, Jubilee will be intact, and two, brace yourself for another 5 years of Jubilee government.
Brace yourself, not even look forward to it. It sounds like ominous and like a warning.
Never look forward.
Be careful.
They will never look forward to it.
Brace yourself. I don't think anybody should brace themselves. If Jubilee wins the election, that's a different matter, because it must be democratic. So, but if we brace ourselves with a team that is full of looters, then you actually, God forbid.
Oh dear.
I think we need to put it.
Papa,
you know those guys of the BAT scandal, those guys of
win the next election.
No, as currently constituted, you know, Jubilee can revamp itself. I expected Moses Kuria to say we want to clean up Jubilee. So he says Jubilee will stay. You cannot face the Republic of Kenya and say, brace yourself for Jubilee. That is called what? Being highly opinionated, because you are arrogant. You should be saying, yes, we have made mistakes.
Let me relax. Start celebrating. No, for the very much.
We're losing the point. We're losing the point.
No, the point is he must. What Moses should say, he should tell us how is he cleaning Jubilee, so that when we get it in as a team for the next general election, we have a better person to take over.
We'll get to that, but today we're discussing whether there will be a Jubilee will come 2017. What do you think, Nikika?
That's really a very difficult kind of question, but I think I'll try to answer that to the best of my ability and power to really see matters objectively and analyze the situations that we find ourselves in today. One, I want to state very clearly, Professor, I would rather have a situation where when we come here, we discuss matters objectively without taking political sides, where one comes here to defend Jubilee or UNDM. Because if I'm called to come here to defend a political party, I will never do it. Because in most things, what happens also defend government. Because I am a member of the legislature. I know very well what my rules as a member of parliament are. I exercise oversight, I make law, and I represent the people of Igembe South in the National Assembly.
And in a coalition as well, which has been put on the rocks based on former CS and affidavit. So do you think it will survive?
You know, where we have a problem is because people have some bit of hangover of the last regime. And if somebody can to really understand our constitutional architecture at a time like now, we should not have members of parliament that claiming to be in government.
I beg your pardon. I understand we're having some technical issue with your microphone, so we're going to fix that very shortly. I apologize for that, and we'll come back to your views. Prof, you've already said that you don't believe it will survive, but if you do not believe that the Jubilee coalition will survive, is it because purely of this specific affidavit, or does the coalition have bigger problems?
I think it has very many other issues. This case of Waiguru is catalyzing, and is already making a bad situation worse. The reason is that if you look at Jubilee itself as currently constituted, it is already sick and almost dying. Based on the fact that because of rivalries, there's a group which is pushing that we want to have a united party, which will have a new name soon if it works in the next 1 month, or we go with the old process where we still have the old Jubilee. So even the Jubilee that won the elections in 2013 might not be there next year. So you must know everybody is chasing different interests. One group is saying we want to centralize our political forces. Another one is saying we part ways and we work as separate political parties. Now whether they will navigate through that or not is another question. But it's already a sign. There is already a sign, especially between the Central Kenya forces and the ones in the Rift Valley who represent different factions of Jubilee, that probably they should remain the way they were. That alone can divide them. The second part that will divide them is the fact that even in terms of working in government, there are many people who are saying they are being shortchanged. Already you have seen a rebellion in the Rift Valley saying that, we were a part of Jubilee and you did not give us a certain ABCD. Now they have already voted in an MCA in Kericho, in Bomet, who does not belong to the Jubilee coalition. So that is a sign that probably they have not even agreed on how they run government. Right. So the Waiguru matter has just come to catalyze a situation which is deteriorating by every day.
All right, Mithika, we have your mic now.
I was trying to explain to the country that if members of parliament understood what their rules are, there is nobody who will be strongly saying that we are government and the others are not, because our rules are completely different. And to me, it's very critical to understand that as members of parliament, we cannot afford to let the Kenyan people down. As members of parliament, we have a role to exercise oversight role over the executive. And when such matters of corruption or issues of mismanagement of funds are brought to light, then it shouldn't be our responsibility to speak objectively and blame the people that are accused of misappropriating public funds, regardless whether you're some brother, your sister, or whoever it is. And for this instance, on whether Jubilee will survive or not, let me say very clearly that the problem that I see, and everybody must be able to understand the kind of politics that takes place in our country. People follow their leaders, not based on principle, not based on ideology, not based on a manifesto, but there is that passion that gets into people and say this is the person that we need to support because he comes from a place. And when we get out of that kind of thinking, that is when we will be heading to the right direction as a country. So whether Jubilee will survive or not, this decision can only be made by one person called Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Those are the people that will either kill Jubilee or keep Jubilee alive, because the people that support them coalesce around the two. So if the two disagree completely now, the coalition will die. So
you're saying issues such as the sharing of positions, the ICC issue, whether the deputy president will be cleared or not, like the president, the proposed collapse of these constituent parties, etc., the question of corruption, with some alleging that, you know, some coalition partners are perpetuating corruption, none of these are more important than what President Uhuru Kenyatta and the deputy president would say to each other and agree.
I'm telling you, if those people agree, regardless of all the other things, then there is that probability and very great likelihood of survival of the coalition.
Sounds like you're not in a coalition that stands for any principles, that your marriage isn't based on principles.
Let me try to explain. There is something I want you to understand. I'm telling you this. You know, this is a marriage. And just like even the Kawaida marriages at our homes, when a man and a wife agrees that will not entertain any voice from a stranger out there, even when the marriage is in the rocks, probably once in a while they'll be able to sit down, agree, and chat away forward and sort their problems. But when you allow people like Professor to come with all the kind of perceptions that he's trying to create in the country and anybody else, that all is not well, and then you get destabilized, then things get worse. But for now, I would really urge everybody to find whatever is happening as a way that Jubilee, regardless of voice problems, is a coalition that is able to accommodate dissent, is a coalition that is willing to be scrutinized, and is a coalition that is willing to let Kenyans know exactly what is happening within it. But really ask everybody to realize and understand that these crimes that are being committed against the people of Kenya by senior leaders within Jubilee, those are acts of crime, and those are individual, and the law must take its full course and deal with the culprits.
Is TNA's policy still zero tolerance towards corruption?
It is, and you know what baffles me is when you talk about TNA and URP, and then you mix issues like sharing of possession and development with corruption. You know, it's really sad. It's like TNA had a party caucus, and URP had a meeting somewhere, and they agreed to adopt corruption as a corporate issue, as a corporate property of the party. It is wrong. It does not happen like that. And I will support Mideka there, that corruption is individual. Corruption is not about a party. There is no party that met and said, we now hereby embrace and adopt corruption as our official policy. Number two, we're talking about members of the executive. And myself, I can be from one party and Mideka from another party, for example. But our members of the executives do not belong to any particular party. You cannot tell me that Henry Rotich belongs to which side of the coalition. You cannot tell me this only from the side of the coalition. These are people who
But they are appointed by a political coalition.
Yes, they are appointed through a political process.
And so may still have some form of political support. You yourself have come out on national television to support these technocrats.
And I'm coming to that. May is a word. Yeah?
What about Charles Keter?
Charles Keter.
What is he doing in Kericho?
What do you mean?
He's participating in elections. He's supporting a wing. Charles Keter is a minister for energy.
You don't want him to go home. You want him to come to Bugoma. You want him to come to Bugoma.
No, you are saying that they don't belong to any political party. He's a civil servant.
Don't be petty. You know what you're saying here? Wait a minute. You know, Charles Keter comes from a place called Kabianga in Kericho. You don't want him to go home so that you don't see his campaign.
But he is, of course, a former
I don't think that is really
in an area.
My point will be lost. My point will be lost this way, because what I'm saying is, presumably, members of the executive are appointed on the basis of their competence, on the basis of their contributions to the dockets which they hold. It is not that there was a party caucus and people voted and said, let's have this person representing us here. If we have politicians like Charles Keter or Eugene Omaro or Chimjuri in the cabinet, it's because other than the competencies, we also need to have anchoring of our policies within the people. But what I'm saying is clear here. Now, let me talk about the issue of Waiguru. And the question that my good old friend Professor is saying, at that particular time that we met, that the issues of Waiguru came up, and based on the information we have, when the issues of, for example, the ball pens for 7,000 shillings came up, I actually talked to Waiguru and members of Jubilee, and I think Mideka was part of that discussion in our social media groups. And I said, if we really do not trust what is coming out from the court side on this particular issue, let us have our own meeting of Jubilee, whereby Waiguru comes and tells us her story. And we had a meeting at Pan-Africa. In that meeting, I didn't hear Waiguru talk about Duale. I didn't hear her talk about Mulcom and all those. So I'm assuming, and I'm not trying to defend anyone here, everybody should defend themselves. Everybody, if there is a case, you should be taken to court. I'm not a stranger there. Everybody should carry their own cross.
No, you're rather at home.
No. I mean, everybody should carry their own cross and their own burden. But what I'm saying is two issues. One, if by that time when we gave Anne Waiguru to talk to us as Jubilee people, if she had said the things she said in her affidavit, you know, even us would have had a different opinion, which makes me a little bit suspicious about Anne Waiguru right now. Second thing is, there was one affidavit and another affidavit. You know, even without producing the documents, if you give me the affidavit of our immediate former cabinet secretary and another affidavit from a hairdresser, I'm inclined to believe the hairdresser.
But you know, now that is the point, Moses. You have good education, and you know that in politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, somebody probably has engineered it or planned it. Now, if you look at the current situation in which we are, and we are discussing the issue of whether or not Jubilee will come asunder, we're saying that on one hand, the allegations made by Honorable Duale that somebody wants to divide the Jubilee thing. And you know, there has been an affidavit coming from one side, that is Anne Waiguru's side, and then now we have seen Anne Waiguru come with the counter affidavit. The timing of those two and the statements that I have made, there is no way you can divorce that from politics. And my humble suspicion, and I will be proved wrong maybe with the time, in the fullness of time. One, there's a group of people within Jubilee who are supporting Anne Waiguru, and they think that the other side has not behaved very well. And there is also another group that probably thinks that, you know, there are people in URP who are not good. And if this continues like this,
somebody is unhappy in this marriage.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
the marriage is not to do. Nobody's cooking for another one. There is no food.
No. Hold on. Sorry.
Let me
just, and I will allow you, sir. I want to follow what you're saying. You're saying that this has been politically engineered.
Yes.
My question is, to what end? Is it to the end of breaking up this coalition? And if that was the case, then who do you think is unhappy in the marriage? Is it TNA or URP?
Both of them are unhappy about each other. They are no longer attracted to each other. They are rebelling. They are rebelling. So the best thing, Honorable Mithika, you know, you are one of the fellows who moved a motion,
yes,
against Anne Waiguru.
Yes.
Then somehow people said you disappeared because you had received some things. But I called you and asked you, did you do that? You said no. You have to tell us. That time probably the marriage was attractive and you still stayed on after talking. But right now, this marriage where it has reached, the spouses are sharing, they are about to share different bedrooms. And as they share different bedrooms, they could probably move out. One would move out. So the right thing to do is, these spouses should start exploring, with the assistance of somebody neutral, ways in which they can look after the children without hurting the children. But they should part ways. The children could be their supporters. How can their supporters
Professor, let me say, this is one of my happiest moments in my life.
Yes.
There are times when I was at my lowest in 2014. And what I'm saying is my happiest moment is because what is happening today is something that I foresaw in 2014. And I have no apologies to make to anybody,
yes,
when I am making this statement. And I would want anybody else to understand. And I'm saying I'm happy because the dishonesty that exists within politicians, the political acrobatism that takes place when you know, right, the opinion of one of your leaders is in between, and rather than following your conscience, then it's trying to demonstrate itself like now. My only problem now, I'm telling you, there's a time I was at my lowest, is because when we made a decision that all was not going on well, and we couldn't foresee what kind of a problem that this lady was supposed to, or was likely to bring to the coalition, I took up a responsibility, given to me by a number of leaders. And when I started this thing, right, people left me with the baby. And everyone else started, other than even trying to explain everyone else that we had sat down and agreed on this matter, or everybody ran against me.
So you are going divorce? Divorce is the thing.
And when that happened, it was very difficult to explain even the masters the genesis of this thing. I became an enemy to everyone. And to the extent that the pressure that came from all quarters and from the people that would not want to mention, because this record is in the parliament.
You feel vindicated?
Today, I am saying that I'm happy because even as trying to explain that this thing was to cause problems eventually, nobody decided or wanted to understand or to reason with me. And because I was told, you know, we created Jubilee together and we cannot afford to bring down this house, then we must go this direction. Because of respect and at the hand, then I decided to let it. But today, and anyone who else listened to me, things would have been different.
Wow. We have no more time left, but I suppose the question as to whether this coalition will survive will only be answered in time. I thank you all for your views, and thank you for your views. We'll be reading them very shortly. I'll see you on the other side of the break. We've got business news and, of course, your feedback on Opinion Court. Stay with us.